Did you know that since joining WagerTalk in 2019, Andy Lang has never had a losing calendar year in golf, picking up 82 units for clients and is already up 13 units in 2023, cashing in 8 of 10 tournaments behind an incredible 11.6% ROI. For a limited time, we have slashed his one-year golf pass from $299 to $199, coming out to just $16.58 per month. Act fast before the price goes back to $299 and bet alongside golf handicapping expert Andy Lang on the greens for the next 12 months.
2, 1. Morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Hope everyone is having a great week. I'm Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Welcome to Prop It Up. We are here to help make your weekend a profitable one through the props betting market. And joining me, as always, my fellow prop masters, Matt Josephs from SportsMemo.com, Andrew McGinnis from WagerTalk.com, and joining us again, Moneyline, Matt Qualis from SportsMemo.com. Gentlemen, even though it's not NFL season, it's not college football season, man, do we have a ton of sports to go over and tons of props. I guess we're just going to jump right into it, guys. We got baseball season coming up. We got the playoffs in NHL and NBA. And then we've got a lot of MMA fights this weekend. Don't forget, we've got PFL in Europe as well as UFC. So let's get right into it. Matt Josephs, I'm coming to you first. Finding bad lines and exploring the markets. In the props betting market, I don't think anything is going to be more important besides your handicap than looking at bad lines and exploring the markets, because as we see all the time, one book is going to have one price, the other book is going to have another one. So talk to us what you're looking for about trying to find these bad lines and trying to explore these markets. What do we need to know?
Yeah, and it came down to something that happened last week, and I was telling Andy about it, and we took advantage of this. But I mean, you look at all the books, and this is why we talk about having multiple options. Being able to go to different books for different numbers, because sometimes somebody makes a mistake, and then you can take advantage of it. And sometimes, look, these books offer a bunch of categories, whether it's player props, team props, Sweet 16 props, Elite 8 props, like all sorts of stuff. There might be a bunch of categories, and you might sit there and be like, well, I don't want to look at all this stuff because it's just a lot, and I don't know all the answers to all these questions. But you should go look at these things. You should go look at literally every prop out there. And even if you do 30 seconds of research and be like, all right, this looks good, I'm not going to play it, this looks good. Sometimes you find a prop out there that is a mistake. And case in point, as I said, there was a book, and I won't say it because they're very weak in the player prop category here. There's a book that offered a player prop on Mitchell Saxton, who's the center of St. Mary's. He's taken 3 threes in his college career, and they offered a over-under of 1.5 at reasonable juice on 3-pointers made. And he's made 3. He's taken 3 in his college career. Well, obviously the under was the play. I did what you probably shouldn't do and tell Andy, because if then he could tell people, and a lot of people bet the under, and they're like, wait a second, let's pull this prop. But luckily they didn't, and we both won our bets here. But if you don't look at every prop, and if you don't look at every market in every sports book, you're just not going to see something like that. So taking advantage of mistakes is certainly something we should do. And if the book's nice enough and they let you to, take advantage of it, then you should certainly do so.
I did not tell everybody I know about that play. I told a couple people about that play, and you were 100% right. I mean, what a diamond in the rough. And all it took was logging in and just checking out some of the basic props that were there, and you found one of the easiest cashes that you'll ever find. So great stuff from Matt Josephs from SportsMemo.com. Andrew, coming to you. Hope you're enjoying your vacation. You said you're going to check out spring training baseball game. That should be awesome. NHL save props we're going to talk about. We talk about goals. We talk about assists. We talk about shots on goal. But save props, really interesting topic. We've cashed a few of those. I know you've done well on those. So what should we be looking for in the NHL when we're looking at save props?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Great to be here with you guys. Look, there's so many different things to look at, different angles. And I think that with the save props especially, you're more so betting, looking at a team like the Columbus Blue Jackets. So here's an example, right? A lot of times we talk about shots on goal and looking at just playing on a team or a couple different players when they're playing bottom feeders like the Blue Jackets or Ducks or even my Montreal Canadiens. But you can also look at the other way. You can look at tonight, Elvis Merzlikins for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's expected to get the start against the New York Islanders. You can take a look at shots on goal props for the Islanders players, or you can just expect Elvis Merzlikins to get absolutely peppered. And who knows who's going to be the ones actually getting those shots. Who knows how many guys will get 3 shots for the Islanders or get to their 4-shot number. But what we do know is that the defense is very weak. They allow lots of shots. They give up lots of power plays, and they give up so many chances on the rush that taking the goaltender to give up lots of shots, to me, is a really great way to go. Now, another way of looking at things, though, that's for the over for Merzlikins. But another way to look at things tonight, you've got the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Arizona Coyotes. Now, as much as I'm saying it might be a big mismatch, I also don't really expect many saves on the side of the Arizona Coyotes. So as much as you expect, hey, maybe in this game, Colorado, why take the shot props when you're going to see them just, get all kinds of shots over a young goaltender starting tonight with just only 3 starts over there in Arizona, as that's what the expected starter is. When you look at this one tonight, I'm taking the under for Arizona's goalie on his save prop because, well, I expect Colorado to probably score 5, 6, 7 goals tonight. And if that's the case, he probably is not going to get that many saves. And if you're lucky enough, he might get pulled from the game, and that's even better. But my point is there's so many different ways to look at it. And I'll tell you what, I've been trying to look at ways to get away from laying juice with props. Some people are good at doing it. Long term, it's not been good for me. I'm a lot better when I try and pick my spots. And these save props, usually you get a pretty good price with it. So just to let people know out there, hey, don't just bet the shots on goal props. Watch out for the save props as well.
Andrew, it's a great point. I got to John Gibson from the Anaheim Ducks. Let me read you his saves in the month of February because I saw you posted this, and we've cashed on Josh Gibson. These are his saves in the month of February. 39, 53, 32, 35, 51, 41, 51. He's getting over by like 20 shots on goal. And it's just a way easier way, instead of trying to figure out which opponent is going to get the shots on goal, you just look at the goalie and say, I don't know who the shots are going to be coming from, but I just know there's going to be a lot of them coming from. So there's a lot of value in that. Great job finding that in the markets, and hopefully we can take advantage of that moving forward. Moneyline Matt, we're creeping up on the playoffs here in the NBA, and we all know the props market change from a week to week, sometimes even a day-to-day basis. And now we're entering the part of the season where teams are getting ready for the playoff run. They're trying to make a playoff run. They're already in, they're already out. So what are you looking for in the NBA as we creep closer and closer to the playoffs?
Yeah, guys. So today we're going to talk about betting the NBA down the stretch because, a lot of these teams have around 10 games left to finish the season. And a lot of these teams are either in or they're already out. And if it's a team that is already out of the playoff picture, it's not really a team that you generally want to be betting on because they're going to pack it in. They're going to be sitting their stars, and they're generally going to be giving younger guys more of a chance to get some run, get some minutes, some opportunity, volume, things of that nature. And that's one thing I wanted to highlight as well is there is opportunity if those lines are available. And one example I wanted to give was the Portland Trailblazers. We heard Damian Lillard come out. He basically said how hard it is to go out, try, perform every single night, knowing you're already out of the playoff picture, essentially. And for myself, the biggest DFS lineup I ever hit in my life was down the stretch of the NBA season. And it was actually the last day of the NBA season. And that's because I knew at that point in time, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum were not going to get their run. So you run their backups. And then on the other team, it was Donovan Mitchell. So I played Grayson Allen and Anfernee Simons in that lineup, actually. And it's just knowing that those guys are going to come in and get that opportunity, that volume, a little bit of everything. And with the Portland Trailblazers now, I think guys you can definitely look to as the season goes on might be a Shaedon Sharpe or a Cam Reddish, someone along those lines. Those are guys, when we saw Damian Lillard out, they had 20-point games, or Cam Reddish even had a 25-point game. And at this point in time, because they haven't hit for some extended period, those lines are going to be pretty good in terms of odds. That's definitely something you can take a look at. But again, going back to teams that you should target, You take a look at tonight's slate. I believe it's a 6-game slate, and 4 of those games are 12-point spreads, 12-point spreads or higher. And generally, those aren't the games that you want to target because they can get out of hand very fast. And if you're taking a player prop over, then that player is going to get benched. But there is going to be some value in those unders with some of those teams because, you still have those really high points, rebounds, assist line for someone like a Giannis, someone like a Luka, an Embiid. And if you blow a team out, they are definitely not going to hit those lines. So for me, when looking at tonight's slate, the 2 games that I like the most are the 76ers and the Golden State Warriors. But with that 76ers and Warriors game, currently Harden and Embiid are game time decisions, so no lines have been released. But when they are released, I think you should take a look at Tyrese Maxey. I think Maxey, he lines up pretty well against guys like Steph Curry, against guys like Klay Thompson. He's incredibly fast off the dribble, been shooting the three-point shot very well on top of that. So I think he's a great look. And then the game that I personally like the most is the Sacramento Kings going up against the Phoenix Suns. The Kings are coming off an embarrassing home loss against the Boston Celtics. The Kings are at home again. And the Suns have now lost 2 in a row after losing to the Lakers. So in that matchup as well, DeAndre Ayton is out, so they don't have a middle presence. So the guy that I'm taking a look at here is going to be De'Aaron Fox. So take a look at De'Aaron Fox. Points tonight, maybe points plus assists, because he's going against Chris Paul, and I think that middle is going to be wide open with Bismack Biyombo and Jock Landale trying to lock it down.
Great stuff from Moneyline Matt. Yeah, looking at these secondary guys on these teams that don't really want to win right now. So you see these superstars start to get a little hot, and the coach is like, whoa, calm down. Why don't you come sit over here next to me? We got a lead now all of a sudden. So great stuff from Moneyline Matt Wallace at sportsmemo.com. All right, let's jump into Matt, baseball's basically here. We gotta be in the mindset that it's here. It starts next week, I believe, or soon thereafter. So we got to look at some of these futures, player and the category leaders. I noticed one injury in particular might be affecting some of these markets, but we got to get out ahead of this. So first off, Matt, just tell us what you have up at sportsmemo.com for this weekend, and then let's talk MLB futures, the player and the category leaders.
Yeah, I have some MLB win totals up on my page at sportsmemo.com, and I also have a deal for for the first month of the season for $99. And last year we finished 27-10 down the stretch, and mostly it's just it's K props, it's team totals. It's not really, you're not getting any sides and totals from me for the normal part because I just find that the exotic markets have a little bit more value. So you don't need a promo code. You can find it on the specials page. First month of the season. For just $99 if you want to give me a try. But yeah, it's time to kind of look at the categories. And I put a couple of bets down. I kind of want to distinguish on the individual stuff as opposed to the category stuff. The category stuff, I'm more apt to throw smaller amounts at a couple of long shots to see if I can get a win. Case in point, yesterday on Sports Memo today, I gave out Devin Williams to lead the league in saves at 20-1. Last year, we hit Emmanuel Class, the Guardians closer, for his number, and he won. So we're going to take a shot at Devin Williams, the closer for the Milwaukee Brewers. He doesn't have a lot of competition around him. When you look at the saves category, you want a guy that their team's going to win a bunch of games, and there's not a lot of options around them. The Phillies would be great if they just went to Sir Anthony Dominguez, but there's Craig Kimbrell, there's Gregory Soto there, so there's a bunch of options. When I'm looking at the categories, I'm looking more at smaller bets on long shots. When I'm looking at the individual player props, like Aaron Judge over under home runs, that's where I'm going to put a normal unit size on something because I only need one player to play well as opposed to needing one player to play well against 29 other guys. So that's kind of the distinguishing factor for me is, individually, how many people do I need for this bet to hit? Well, for the individuals, I need one. For the other stuff, I need a whole bunch of guys to go the right way. That's why my unit size is completely different for those two type of bets.
So Matt, you mentioned some of the more exotic categories in baseball. Can you give us some of them? Because I've noticed just over the years, the markets are just giving us more and more categories. It just seems like even year to year, there's some more categories that we didn't see. So what are some of the categories that you're noticing that we can take advantage of? Because I'm with you. Money line and total for the full game, it can be really, really difficult, but you narrow it down and you get more and more niche. Seems like the better advantage we have. So what are these categories that you're focusing on?
Well, I like to play walks occasionally for certain pitchers. Usually they're juiced a little bit too much, 1.5 walks, 2.5 walks, half a walk or whatever. But there's certain guys who struggle against certain lineups who are more patient. So you're looking at that market. And I started playing innings props last year. Cal Quantrill was a guy who hit every time, it felt like. He went 6 or 7 innings. And you're going to get some value, I think, early on this season. I think actually if you do the research, you can kill it this first month of the season because you look at spring training statistics, you read the quotes in terms of how many pitches, is a veteran bad in spring training because he's working on new pitches, who is struggling with the pitch clock, because that's certainly something that comes into play. And I think the books know as little as we do with regards to this. So you're going to see some soft numbers. If you read the quotes and the manager says, yeah, this guy's going 75 pitches, but the books don't realize that and put up a K-prop number as if they're going to go a full 7 or 8 innings, you can take advantage of an under. So I think this first month of the season is really exploitable if you put the time in and look in the guy's history and look at a guy, a manager's quote or something like that. The guys that coming off the World Baseball Classic, they're going to pitch a little bit longer than somebody else because they've already kind of gotten their feet in the fire and actually pitched in big games and stuff like that. So really just doing the research early in this first month, you can certainly kill it if you put the time in.
Andrew, you got a question for Matt about MLB?
Well, Matt, I wanted to ask you about out props, like just for pitchers, looking at those ones versus strikeout props, because as we know, not every pitcher is a strikeout type of pitcher, ground ball pitcher, different things like that. I think those got more popular, especially with the big name pitchers. And I know that you really dominate the K prop field, but how do you feel about the out props for pitchers and looking at those compared to the K props for certain pitchers?
Yeah, I think that you find your guys. There's certain guys that pitchers that teams will give a little bit longer leash to in terms of like if they're struggling, they're not going to yank them right away. Now, early on in the season, you might see some guys only go 5 innings because they're still building their arm up from spring training. But I love the outs market. If there's teams that have bad bullpens or if they have tired bullpens, it's something you pay attention to. We kind of did a K-prop worksheet last year, and I know you guys have the K-prop worksheet, but we have the outs category here, and you'll notice that certain teams starting pitchers go 6 innings against them all the time because they're free swingers. The Marlins last year were free swingers, and so you saw a lot of guys go 6 and a third, 7 innings against them. So it's just kind of looking at some trends and seeing who the more patient teams are. Like the Astros, you see a lot of guys go 5 innings against them because they're a more patient team. So finding the trends early on and using the trends from last year to kind of be your basis for this year, those are some important things when you look at the outs prop.
So many great angles in MLB. I know one of my favorite was taking the pitchers on the outs props that, like, if the day before was a bullpen game for the team, and it was like they just don't have as many bullpen guys, so they're going to need this pitcher to go 6 innings. There's so many great angles, so I'm really excited about the MLB season here on Prop It Up. Matt, real quick, can you give us the special that you mentioned earlier for MLB? As you said, first month of the season, the books know as much as we do, sometimes maybe even a little bit less once you get into these niche markets with some of these specific players. Let us know about the special you have for MLB.
Yeah, first month of the season for $99, no promo code needed, and it gives you an opportunity to test me out in terms of, as I said, I don't play the normal stuff. I play K props and things like that, and I play, outs props, walks props, earn runs, allow props, things like that. So if you want to give me a shot here, first 30 days, $99, there's no promo code involved, and certainly, I think the first month can be beatable if we put the research in, and I will certainly put the time in if you join me.
Great stuff from Matt Josephs. You can find him at sportsmemo.com. Nobody does it better with the MLB props than Matt. So, Andrew, we're going to come to you. NHL props approaching the playoffs. NHL and NBA kind of run simultaneous, and we're at that time of year where, for me, the stars start to shine. So we look at some of these guys going into the playoffs. How do you approach props in the NHL as we get towards the playoffs?
So here's the deal. I mean, that was a great segue as far as you saying the stars start to shine there, because really that's what you want to start looking for as far as these top tier teams, the elite of the elite there, with teams like the Hurricanes, the Rangers, even the Penguins right now. Those teams, they're trying to make that final push, trying to build a solid foundation heading into the playoffs, or not just that, trying to make the playoffs. Maple Leafs, Lightning, teams like that as well. The LA Kings, the Winnipeg Jets, the Dallas Stars. those are the teams you want to be looking at, the elite of the elite, the best players. They're getting lots of ice time. They're out there quite a bit. There's no experimenting anymore. And the best part about this time of year, as far as the prop market goes in the NHL, you already know who the lines are. Very rarely coaches are changing line pairings this time of year unless there's an injury. So chemistry is already there. You know who's playing with who. And you also know pretty much who's the guy shooting a lot, who's the guy passing a lot for assist props. You pretty much know what you have to know as far as these top elite players. But, and this is a big but here, for the teams that aren't really in contention, like my Canadians, like Moneyline Matt's Red Wings, like Matt Joseph's Philadelphia Flyers, you want to be looking at the bottom tier players, the younger players, the fourth line guys, the third line guys. It almost seems like the top players, they get disrespected, Andy, at the end of the year in the NHL from their coaches because the GM already knows they're good, right? He wants to find out how good the other players are, not just those top players. They're pretty much looking forward to next year already. And it's a lot of these younger guys getting a chance. And there's always so many like storybook, there's so many like storylines in the NHL. Like, for example, like a player playing his former team for the first time, they always seem to score and things like that. Well, it seems like a player that will get called up, from junior hockey or from college, and he'll play with the team for the last 10 games. He scores. He gets lots of assists. He gets lots of shots. Why? The team puts him in a position to succeed. They'll literally rest a good player and give him less minutes to put this 18-year-old out there because they want to give him experience. So something I really thought was worth mentioning here on the show, I might be talking on Puck Time or just with my clients, with a lot of players giving out props for guys that they might not even ever have heard of. But Andy, as you know, sometimes that's how you make money with them. So I have a special going right now, 7 days of my NHL package, $49. That's $20 off. You get everything I release. I know people love those best bets, but as you guys know, sometimes those 2%, 3%, those all add up. So not just about the 4% and 5% plays.
Yeah, great stuff, Andrew. I know 2 years in a row since I've been doing NHL props. I know at the end of the year you've been like, "Hey, let's take a look at this guy," and I'm like, "Who? Who is that?" And you're like, "Oh, they just called him up," and then I'm like, "Well, yeah." And then 4 shots and 2 goals later, we cash it in. So, absolutely great stuff. Yeah, a little depressing. The teams that are represented on the Prop It Up panel today. Not a whole lot to root for in the playoffs moving forward. So that's all right. There's always
business.
Mm-hmm. There's always next year, guys. Hey, look at bright side. At least you have a team. Matt, let's go to the Octagon. Let's talk UFC props. We've got a card with a lot of names that some people, the casual fans, may not know of, and these are the cards that I love because I know these guys well. There's a lot of props here, and also don't forget that the PFL Europe event is early in the day on Saturday. So if you followed some of these fighters in PFL, there's very, very good lines and good fights in that. But let's talk UFC props. What do you like for this weekend?
Yeah, for this weekend, UFC San Antonio, the main event is Marlon Vera and Corey Sandhagen. That's going to be a very exciting fight. One I'm definitely looking forward to. But for the fight to watch that I want to talk about today, it's actually going to be Chidi Njokuani. Wow, I probably butchered that. But versus Albert Durev. And this is one of those, if you remember watching Chidi before, he is that fighter who gave Greg Rodriguez the biggest gash I have ever seen in UFC history without the fight being stopped. And this guy is fast. He is powerful. And as for Albert Durev, he is more of a wrestler. He's a chain wrestler. He's going to try and come forward. He's going to try and push you, things of that nature. And for me, again, I love these stylistic matchups because Chidi is one of those guys who, again, very powerful, knocks a lot of guys out. If you remember that last fight, once again, with Greg Rodriguez, he just had a gash down his face. And potentially, if he didn't gash himself out, could have won that fight as well. But when you look at Durev, he also recently came off a loss to Joaquin Buckley. And Buckley has a lot of similarities to that of Chidi. They're both guys who have a lot of power in their hand. They don't wrestle all that much. And if I were to kind of put Buckley and Chidi next to each other, I'd actually probably give the edge to Chidi in that one. So for me, I really do like the bounce back here for Chidi against someone like Durev. He's someone who, yes, he's going to be trying to wrestle the entire fight. I think that is his path to victory. On top of that, trying to chain wrestle, trying to have Chidi fight him off of him, continuing to try and fight off those takedowns, stuff like that. But again, there's just so much power in those hands. And I just think at some point in time, Chidi is going to catch Duraev. And if Buckley caught him, I kind of think Chidi can as well. And, Chidi has won 4 out of his last 5 fights before that loss to Rodriguez. And that was one that, I think a lot of us thought he was going to take that one as well. And, this is kind of one of those fights where you see what a fighter is, the type of style fighter he is after coming off a loss. How is he going to respond? And I think the UFC wants someone exciting like Chidi around for a long time. So we both know, Andy, how the UFC is with some of these fights. If they like a UFC fighter, they try and give them somewhat of a little bit of a softball to get him back in that win category, get him going again. I think that's what Chidi is here. And, Chidi KO TKO is plus 120. I think that's pretty good odds right now. I believe he's around minus 160 for a straight money line bet. And then if you're looking at Duraev, he's also plus 370 for submission. So if there was any way that I would see Albert Duraev getting this fight, I do think it would be by submission. But again, Chidi has good takedown defense. It's around 75%. Yes, he's been taken down in his last couple fights, but I think he's had gas tank issues. And I think looking back at his last fight against Rodriguez, you try and shore up some of those issues, fix it, get back in training camp. So I expect him to be a different fighter here, and I actually expect him to get the knockout with plus 120.
Great stuff from Moneyline, Matt Quellis from sportsmemo.com. Matt, tell us what you have up for this weekend and moving forward up at Sports Memo.
Yeah, right now over at Sports Memo, I already have one NBA play loaded. I have a player prop loaded for tonight's card, and we'll definitely have at least 1 or 2 UFC plays for this UFC San Antonio. Kind of been keeping it nice and simple, taking my 2 favorite plays, posting that for everyone. It's been successful in 2023. Up or winning at a 60% rate. So just looking to keep that rolling.
Great stuff. I have to bring up a fight that is taking place in the PFL. This falls into the category of this just isn't fair to talk about a sacrificial lamb that they're just sending in. And my good friend Jim is in the chat. So there's a woman, Dakota Decheva, and she is one of the PFL darlings that is coming up, and she's a finisher, man. She's finished 4 out of her last 5 fights. She's finished 6 out of 7 in her career, and they're going to give her plenty of opportunities to get finishes. And Matt and Andrew, you know this in MMA, like when these leagues want to showcase these fighters, they'll give them some cupcake matchups so you can get the highlight finish and everything. I mean, like you know how this works. Yes. But at least give him a fighter that can fight back. I think that's kind of what – I don't think this fighter can fight back against Dakota Decheva. Like, she's lost 3 in a row to terrible fighters. Like, she lost to a fighter that's 7-9 by an arm bar. And I understand you want to get your darling a highlight finish, but this isn't fair. So how can we take advantage of it? Well, the under 1.5 rounds is minus 155, and they don't have the props yet for finish, but just look for Dakota Decheva in the PFL Europe card to get the finish, because this is just not even remotely it's not fair. I mean, congratulations to Malin Hermanson for getting a paycheck, but she's not going to see the second round in this one.
Why are we only talking about that with boxing? Why are we only talking about that boxing people get tomato cans? Like, I just want to say really quick, I am done with that stereotype and that talk that boxing is the only sport where people get tomato cans for their first 5 wins. Because, Andy, you have been the one. I've followed UFC for a long time now, but you've been the one really that's helped me out with the UFC and saying, Andrew, bet the prelims. Bet at 6 o'clock. Yeah. Don't wait till midnight. And I just wanted to say, I mean, everyone says boxing, people have fake records. Like, we're about to find out in the next, I think, few months about some up-and-coming UFC guys, what they're really made of. And I know that this isn't really the best example, but Ian Gary is someone that people are already looking forward to fading in his next fight. So we'll see what he has to offer. But I don't think boxing is the only sport where people fight tomato cans for their first few fights.
No, I mean, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was gonna say, and if there is anyone who is just amazing at finding tomato cans, it is Andy Lang. You have definitely
Thank you.
introduced me to finding the tomato cans. It's beautiful. What was it? One guy like a painter or something that you found one time?
No, he was a photographer.
He's a
Yeah,
photographer.
he was a professional photographer. They gave him 2 UFC matchups. They went as predicted, and don't forget the realtor.
Yes.
It was the week of the fight, and on Instagram he posted pictures of his new business cards that he was excited. He's like, check it out if you're in the area and you want to buy a house, just give me a call. It's like, don't you have a UFC fight Saturday?
Yeah.
And it wasn't a fight. It
was
looked
a
like
quick
a
one.
realtor fighting a
Matt,
UFC.
if you've never heard of it, the best Andy Lang handicap is fading a golfer after his wife just had a baby. That is the best Andy Lang handicapping I've ever heard. So
It's
you got it all.
The sleep schedule gets messed up completely. The golfer's out of sorts. A baby does that. So real quick, guys, I want to do something on the NBA. Tanking teams, teams that are just openly tanking, and how do you take advantage of them in the props market? Well, I'm going to give you 2 examples here real quick. Matt, you know the Pistons, they're near and dear to your heart. Injuries to their backcourt, and so here's one way you can take advantage of this one, Matt. You're so good, I don't even know if you've even seen this one. Have you seen what Killian Hayes' turnovers are like since they put him in the starting lineup? Have you
Oh
seen that he
God.
just yeah, so Killian Hayes is now the starting guard for the Detroit Pistons, and he's terrible.
Oh my God.
So on March 11th, they put him in the starting lineup, and now he's playing 30 minutes a game, and they keep putting his turnover prop at 2.5. He has 26 turnovers in 6 games. He's averaging 4, and the books just keep putting him at 2.5. He has this huge increase in minutes, and then he just throws the ball to the other team. There's a travel. He'll throw it out of bounds. So that's one way you can take advantage of a tanking team. And then the other thing, Matt, the Rockets. Have you noticed they're playing with basically no bench? They have 5 starters, and that's it. So the last 3 games, the bench for the Rockets have scored 20, 20, and 7 points. The last game, the Rockets scored 125 points. Only 7 came from the bench. That's how depleted this team is and how short the rotation is. So Kevin Porter Jr. is filling the stat sheet. Jalen Green is scoring a ton of points because they're literally not playing anybody off the bench. They have 3 guys, maybe 4, come in off the bench. They're just letting their starters do everything. So when you're looking at the Pistons, take a look at Killian Hayes over his turnovers, and take a look at the Rockets starters because they're just not playing anybody else. So real quick, Matt Josephs, once again, tell us where we can find you at and what you're going to have moving forward. Oh, and also thoughts on last night's game, Matt, from Gonzaga. Pretty impressive, huh?
Yeah. I mean, got this pennant over here. It's it's funny because my biggest future bet before the tournament was on UCLA, and then of course the injuries killed them. And you could tell last night with Bona being out and with Jalen Clark being out that the defense was certainly an issue. So that was the bad side of things. But I was very happy to see Gonzaga move on, although I may or may not have taken UConn already because I think that's a bad matchup for Gonzaga. You could certainly find on my page early baseball futures, as you said. We're about a week away from opening day, and certainly you can find also the special first month of the season for $99 K-props, all the pitchers, the exotic stuff. Looking forward to baseball season, and we're hoping to start fast like we ended last year, 27-10 finish in MLB.
Great stuff from Matt Joseph, sportsmemo.com. Andrew, real quick, what do you have on Wager Talk today going for this weekend?
Yeah, I find it funny, Andy, people are making fun of Timmy saying he's in like his 30th season with the college team when that's really what you're supposed to be doing is staying in college until you graduate. But for me this weekend, I'm going for my 5th straight 4% winner in the UFC. I can't wait for it. It's a play I really, really do like. I'm on an overall 13-5 run with those plays. And I have 2 or 3 other plays. I'm still finalizing the card, but I believe it's at least 2 other plays in the UFC for this weekend. And hockey, I mean, obviously it's going to be a smaller slate for me today. I got some props for today. Saturdays are always huge, and I have that great special. I do recommend people getting down on that. $35 for 5% play, or you can get 1 week of all plays for $49 at WagerTalk.com.
No brainer there. Get the full week. That way you can get everything. And Andrew, it's okay if you have a small NHL slate when there's only 3 games. We'll forgive you.
Yeah.
Matt, tell everyone where we can find you and what you'll have up for this weekend again.
Yeah, guys, you can find me over at Sports Memo, Moneyline Matt. And right now, I'm definitely going to have at least 2 UFC plays up. I think this is actually a pretty bettable UFC card. You have some closer lines with some value. And then, of course, the NBA right now. I have NBA plays almost every single day. Was on a 12-3 Moneyline bet run, 80% up 30 units. Actually lost last night. I had the Brooklyn Nets put a knife in my back. So we're looking to rebound and definitely going to have those props. And NBA playoffs, guys. NBA playoffs are a great time to bet. You get a lot of secure minutes. You're getting a lot of secure usage, volume. You can kind of see how trends go with particular teams. So when the NBA playoffs come, I definitely recommend jumping on board, getting a package, something along those lines, because I really do believe that is the best time to bet the NBA. And someone like myself, I watch the NBA 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. every single night. I know every team like the back of my hand. So I'm very, very excited to get to the NBA playoffs and start betting that with more secure minutes, lineups, things of that nature.
Great stuff from Moneyline. Matt Qualis at sportsmemo.com. I am doing a best bet today, and we are going to the WGC Dell match play. It's a nice little play for all of our live viewers. You can get on this play. It starts at 11:45 Eastern time. We are going to go with Scotty Scheffler over Tom Kim. We're going to play this as a match winner 3-way. So this means if the bet ties, our bet loses. I don't think this gets to a tie. So Scotty Scheffler needs to win this head-to-head matchup in order to advance in the group. If Tom Kim beats him, then Tom Kim advances. Scotty Scheffler is the defending champ. He's finished first and second in this tournament the last 2 years. And yes, he didn't play great in round 1. And then in round 2, he started off a little bit slow. And then starting with the 5th hole, the man ripped off 6 birdies in 8 holes and 8 birdies in 10 holes to steamroll his opponent. This guy's finished first and second in the last 2 years for a reason. He's the number 1 golfer on the planet right now. He's the number 1 seed in this tournament. Tom Kim, not very impressive the last couple days. He has several bogeys on his card, and if he just shoots a couple bogeys today, Scheffler's going to take advantage and steamroll him. So it's minus 155. It's a little bit juicy. I think it's a value on it, so you can grab this before they tee off at 11:45. Scotty Scheffler over Tom Kim is our best bet prop of the week. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us from Prop It Up. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. That is Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com. Check him out. And we are really close to baseball season. That is where Matt absolutely shines in the baseball prop markets. Andrew McGinnis from WagerTalk.com. He's got UFC, NHL. Check all of his plays out. And Moneyline Matt creeping closer to the NBA playoffs where he shines. I'm Andy Lang. I'm at WagerTalk.com. Good luck. Let's have a great weekend. And we'll see everyone next week on Prop It Up.
Did you know that since joining WagerTalk in 2019, Andy Lang has never had a losing calendar year in golf, picking up 82 units for clients and is already up 13 units in 2023, cashing in 8 of 10 tournaments behind an incredible 11.6% ROI. For a limited time, we have slashed his 1-year golf pass from $299 to $199, coming out to just $16.58 per month. Act fast before the price goes back to $299 and bet alongside golf handicapping expert Andy Lang on the greens for the next 12 months.